Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving right along. This is going to be your May 1st, chapter 46 lecture notes on the Looking Glass Self. And here we are. So we're still continuing our conversation and our notes after reading the social interactionism chapter of chapter 44. And the chapter before this, we talked about impressions management. So another category, another subcategory of social symbolic interactionism is the looking glass self. So again, we're still talking about how we as a society, as individuals, interact with media text, the influence that those media texts then have on us and our world, the world we live in, and the way we interact with more in or other individuals. And so we have the looking glass self. Now, the looking glass self, again, much like impressions management, is going to be a lot what it already sounds like. Looking glass self. Looking at yourself as if you were looking at yourself in a glass, in a mirror. And what this means in this particular idea, the individual is going to self critique, they're going to self evaluate. Much like impressions management, it's about the person that you are presenting to others. But this time, we're going to take other people out of the equation and we're going to do all of our critiquing, all of our evaluating ourselves. So I'm going to look at myself and say that this is what I presented to others. And then I'm going to say, okay, well, if I presented this to other people, this is what they must have thought. And then I will make adjustments based on that. And those are the three stages that you see outlined there. So stage one, how do we appear to others? I get dressed in the morning, I'm headed to work, and I say, all right, this is the appearance I am putting out to other people. Now, before I leave the house, I'm going to stand in front of the mirror and I'm going to say, okay, well, if I look like this and this is what I am putting out to other people, this is what they're going to think. This is what they're going to feel. This is how they're going to react. I am then going to do my final touches, maybe change out some earrings, maybe change my shoes, change the outfit altogether, because in stage three, I develop myself in light of that judgment. And then the cycle repeats itself. Now, hopefully, I reach stage three and I'm pretty satisfied with myself and I can leave and walk out the door. Otherwise, I'm going to be standing here forever trying to get ready in the morning. But that's the looking glass self, and that's the ideology. That's how that particular subcategory of social interactionism breaks down. Now, like I said, this is different from the impressions management because I've done all this before I even left the house and interacted with anybody. According to impressions management, I wouldn't have done all those steps until I'd gotten to work and interacted with colleagues or interacted with students. All right. And now Mead refers to this as a very common phrase or that we all know with it's taking the role of someone else. You know, when you put yourself in someone else's shoes to try to understand what they're thinking and how they're feeling for whatever reason. Maybe you're trying to resolve an argument, or maybe you're trying to understand why they feel sad about something. The looking glass self does just that. It takes on that role, eliminates the need for another person because we're self-critical. And Charles Cooley is going to be the gentleman who's responsible with terming this coin. And he claims that the thing that moves to pride or shame is not mere mechanical reflections of ourselves, but an inputted statement, the imagined effect of this reflecting upon another's mind. So it's the idea that, you know, we are creatures of habit and we are influenced not as much as we'd like to think about the reality of what other people think, but the idea of what they think. Um, we are so much more self critical than other people are of us. Nine times out, well, probably half the time. You know, it just depends on your personality and how much you have come to grips with yourself and how much you think of other people. But according to Cooley and this looking glass self ideology is that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves because we think of that someone else thinks something of us, whether that something be good or bad. That's what's going to move us to further interaction. Um, and so when we think about this idea and we think about communications and we think about our media text, you know, the idea for most of us is that our media text isn't something we immediately interact with. We don't get immediate feedback from it. So the looking glass self, in terms of that, is interesting because we don't need the media text to interact with us directly back. We go, this is how I appear to what I'm interacting with, my media text. And if my media text were to be critical of myself, you know, the producers, the artists, the author of my media text, if they were to be critical of me, I think that this is how they would view me. And then I either continue to change myself or I feel satisfied and I stay exactly where I'm at. Keeping in mind here that the looking glass self differs from impressions management in that there's no social relationship. I'm not there face to face. I can't read nonverbal cues. I can't read body language to influence my mind and influence how I may change right there in that particular interaction. So going back to your discussion questions, I want you to do number 3 for me. Put yourself in the shoes of there's a typo. Put yourself in the shoes of your artist, author, producer, whoever it is, whoever controls your media text. And I want you to respond to these 3 stages of looking glass self. So let's say that my media text is going to be J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. I am going to put myself in J.K. Rowling's shoes, and I'm going to think of myself as J.K. Rowling, and I'm going to say, well, how do I present myself to other people? Okay, if I'm J.K. Rowling, I feel like I present myself to other people as very bright, very intelligent, very hardworking, and as a creator of Harry Potter, so must have like some crazy fanatical, creative mindset. Step 2, how do others judge that appearance? Again, as J.K. Rowling, I'm going to think of how people perceive that appearance. Okay, well, as J.K. Rowling, I feel that people are going to think very highly of that. They're going to have a very high opinion of me. They're going to respect me. They're going to enjoy my content. Or you've got that side of my audience who is like, they're not very big fans of me. They don't like my work. They don't appreciate my creative mindset. They don't like the things that I've written about, and they don't appreciate how attached some people have gotten to this fictional world. And then stage 3, if I'm J.K. Rowling, I'm going to develop myself in light of that judgment. Well, if I like the judgment of the first crowd where they adore me, they love me, they respect me, I'm good. But in stage 3, now I've got to develop myself in light of the judgment that there's an audience that doesn't like me. There are people that are critical of me. They don't appreciate my work. How do I then respond? As J.K. Rowling, maybe I put a statement out there. Hey, this is a fictional world. This was an escape from reality. This was in no way meant to be real. But I appreciate that fans can identify and that it's something they enjoy. So you see how I went through all 3 of those stages as J.K. Rowling. So I want you to do the same thing with your artist, author, producer of your media text. Of your media text. Put yourself in their position. Explain to me how they would work through the 3 stages of the looking glass self. Okay? We will move on to chapter 47 next.